Hello budget people and welcome to the first episode of the She's on a Budget podcast. My name is Euphemia and I'm your host, and I'll be sharing with you jargon-free money advice to enable you to fast track your journey to financial freedom. Hey guys, nice to meet you all. This is the first episode of the She's on a Budget podcast. Being the first episode, I thought it would be really good to have my gal pal, Miss Ellie, aka Regina, aka Regina George, interview me, giving you the lowdown of who I am and what I'm about, especially for those people who have never heard of me before, have never come across the She's on a Budget platform, page, channel, whatever. I think it'd be a good idea, Ellie. What do you think?
Can't wait.
She's a bit camera shy, okay? So bear with her. But yeah, she's going to be oh my gosh, I hope this goes well. She will be asking me some really grueling questions to give you a bit more of an overview of who I actually am. Take it away, Regina. Okay. First of all, I think you've got to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Elle, aka Eliana. It's not Regina, it's not... No, I'm joking. Yeah, and I'm Fiend's friend. So... it's not grueling. It won't be that grueling. The questions. I know you want them grueling.
Yeah, it'd be good if they were, but I doubt they will be.
No, they'll slide in a little bit grueling.
She's gonna ease you in, guys.
Yeah, okay. The very first question is going to be. It's quite simple, and it's something we all need to know.
Okay.
Who is She's on a Budget, and who is Euphemia Moore?
Okay, gosh, that's quite a broad question, isn't it? Okay, so who is She's on a Budget? She's on a Budget is a 39 and some change, because your girl's turning 40 soon. So she is a 40-year-old lady, I would rather say now, who has 3 children. I come from a Afro-Caribbean background, which is that's the box that I check anyway when I do all those things. But yeah, I am of Caribbean descent. Jeez, I can't even get my words out. So I am someone from Caribbean descent. I have 2 siblings, 2 older brothers, and I'm the youngest of 3. I don't know, maybe you need to chime in.
Oh, well, you killed my next question, because I was going to say to you, where are you actually from?
As in, where was I born?
Like, where are you really from?
Oh! Girl, sorry. Don't even go. I'm joking. That's actually quite funny. Well, okay. So, okay, so where am I from? Yeah, so my parents are from Jamaica. My mum's from Jamaica. My dad's from Trinidad.
Born here.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, born here, okay. But parents are from the Caribbean.
Okay. Where was you actually brought up? As in,
okay.
Where were you? Yeah, born, raised.
Raised. Okay, so I was actually born in South London, in a town called Lewisham. Not sure. If you guys are familiar, but I was born in Lewisham, and I spent a little bit of my childhood in South London. Then we moved out to Thamesmead. I don't know if anyone knows where Thamesmead is, but in Kent. And I then moved back to London, I'd say pre-teens. And that's where I was brought up, South London, Old Kent Road. Yeah. No, I'm joking. Pecknam. I'm just joking. But yeah, no, I was brought up in South London, South East London.
What about childhood? Give us a little insight about you.
Okay.
Childhood, school.
Okay.
Where did that lead to?
Okay, so I was the youngest of 3. Mm-hmm. As I said, I've got 2 older siblings. I would say that I was probably the most trouble, being the girl. I was a bit of a wayward teenager, I would say. I went to school in Old Kent Road. I'd say that I was quite a clever child. Favourite subjects being science-based, hence why becoming a science teacher. But yeah, I was definitely quite a clever child, but yeah, definitely a wayward teenager.
Tell us a bit about you, as in up to the point where, not so much up to the point where you are now, but what was your life like, say, from teens? Because we know you've got a broken marriage. So just give us a little insight about how that happened.
Sorry.
What are you laughing for, man?
I'm laughing. Broken marriage. I was like,
I'm sorry.
No, it's not even that.
Failed marriage.
No. Oh gosh, that's even worse. Yeah, I don't mean it in that way. By the way, these are questions that she has come up with, which I'm really grateful for. And I think it's good because at least I haven't orchestrated this whole thing. You know that these are questions that, have come from somebody else other than myself. I fell pregnant as a teenager. So I was a very young mum. I moved out of the family home at the age of 17. So I was living on my own from 17 up until, now. Didn't go through the whole normal teenage lifestyle. I had responsibilities at an early age. And yeah, I then I then got married at the age of 21. So I would say that life was probably harder than it could have been, like it should have been, should I say. But yeah, I was a very young mum, very young bride. And yeah, then went on to have 2 more children. And yeah, moved out of London once we got married. And then, yeah, things started to, you know, kind of like go downhill from there, I'd say.
What was married life like for you?
I would say married life for me was a challenge. I would never ever like come on a podcast, and you'll probably never ever hear me slate the father of my children, my ex-husband, because I'm very much aware that, you know, my children will see all these things later on in life. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge, and I'm not going to blame him also for everything. As you know, I was very young when I got married, so we were both learning and growing as individuals. I was definitely a different person to when I met him to when the marriage actually dissolved. But yeah, it was a challenge. It was very much a big challenge for me.
How long were you married for?
We were married for going on 15 years, so nearly 15 years in total.
What was the reason for the breakdown of your marriage?
I would say the main reason is to do with finances. I did encounter financial abuse, mental abuse. There was a lot of controlling behaviour going on. And towards the end of our marriage, we came under hard times because we ended up losing our property.
Sorry to cut you. Okay, you had another business prior to She's on a Budget, which is Paleo now.
Yeah.
The financial difficulties in your marriage, did they come from the business side, or did that have any part in it, if that makes sense?
So the financial difficulties basically came from the lack of support that I had in terms of paying bills. So it was kind of like a thing of, I can't explain it without giving away too much information. Husband didn't want to do what was required for him as a husband, as a provider, and the onus then fell on me and my shoulders. And despite the fact that I went to university in order to get my degree and to hopefully end up teaching, it still wasn't enough. So I did start a business, and it really did happen by accident, really. It wasn't meant to be a business. It was meant to be like a little bit of a way for me to hobby, and also a way for me to get a little bit of extra money. It wasn't meant to be a business. I really do believe that the failure of that business, because it would have probably helped set us through, was just due to the fact that, you know, he wasn't happy with me running that business, and a bit of jealousy and all of that jazz.
Was that business, because I can't actually remember, did that business start during you studying at uni?
Yeah.
So well, combining both?
No, I'd finished uni at that point. I'd applied to become a teacher. So I'd finished uni, got my qualification. By the way, guys, I have a chemistry degree. So I'd got my chemistry degree. I then applied for a teacher training course. When I applied for a science position for the teacher training course, they had run out. There weren't enough spaces. So they said they were going to defer my application to the following year. So during that year that I was waiting for, you know, to start my teacher training, I decided to then, like, you know, start this hobby of cooking and, you know, selling food on the side. So at the end of the year, I had to decide which one I was going to do, whether I was going to carry on with teacher training or to close down the business. To be honest, the option of having both was just not there by then. The marriage had kind of like deteriorated to the point where it just wasn't going to happen.
You were quite gutted, weren't you, about Paleo now?
Yeah, I was.
It was a little baby, wasn't it?
It was my first, like, obviously, endeavour. Yeah, it did give me a lot of confidence at the time as well. I think before that, as I said, I was like very much financially dependent on my significant other, and I didn't really have anything for me to some degree. It was nice to have, like, built something from scratch, you know. It did definitely give me a bit of confidence in myself and my abilities.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Is that what gave you the confidence to start your own, or want to have your own business?
Yeah, I definitely think having previous experience in the business world, if you were to call it that, definitely gave me the courage to try again. There were certain things that I had done wrong in my first business, obviously, and I just wanted to make sure that I could correct them to some degree. So yeah, definitely having that experience helped with She's on a Budget. Do
you think you always wanted to start your own business, even like that? So where you were teaching, did you still did you see yourself in teaching long term, or did you always have this inkling inside that you wanted to have your own business?
I still tried to do Paleo now on the side, but eventually it got to the point where, you know, it wasn't going to happen, and I had to, like, I had to make that decision, obviously, guys. As I said, I had to make the decision to close down the shop. And it was very, very hard. I think more so because I take regret and things like that really hard. So I'll hold on until like the rails fall off kind of thing. But even with teaching as a whole, I think that I only really went back to school to study chemistry, not necessarily to be a teacher. Like science was the only subject I really liked at school. So I went back to study to get some qualifications, but more so not to just become a teacher. I think at the end of the course, I decided to do teacher training. So it's never like been a lifelong ambition, I'd say. There are certain skills though that I do have naturally that help me to be a good teacher, but I wouldn't say that it's been like my lifelong dream or anything like that.
Paleo now and She's on a Budget are pretty much two completely different businesses.
Yeah, they are.
One is food and one is completely different. And I think you've always said that you've always liked the business side of any business you've had.
Yeah. I like the independence of a business. Yeah. I can easily work as part of a team, but I am very much like a person who likes to work on their own as well.
I think you're a pretty good leader, isn't it? Leadership.
No,
you're not really a follower or anything like that.
I'm definitely not a follower, but I wouldn't say, what do you say, leader? I feel like, oh my gosh. But I wouldn't say I'm a follower. But I agree in that respect. I'm the opposite of a follower.
Yeah, completely.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. She's on a Budget.
Yeah.
Tell us what She's on a Budget is all about, business-wise. Not all of it, but just give us an insight.
Okay, so following on from like Paleo Now, I'd say a good few years.
Sorry, let's rewind.
Yeah.
So in between Paleo Now and She's on a Budget, what was you doing?
So I was working as a teacher and, surviving, would I say. It definitely was the end of my marriage, as I said. So within the next, 2 years, my husband had left the home and I was on my own in a hostel.
Homeless.
Well, homeless. Oh, you know what? The thing is, right, most people know my story already. They know that I was left homeless with my children. But I feel like in the UK, I think if someone was living in like, I don't know, it looks very different to how homelessness looks in the UK. Yes, okay, I was homeless, I suppose. And I'm not trying to like... I
wouldn't downplay.
I'm not trying to downplay what I went through.
When you went through.
I know. I'm not trying to downplay it at all. But I think that in retrospect, knowing that this podcast could potentially reach other people who are in different countries. And I wouldn't like it to make it seem like my experience is the worst ever that could happen to an individual. I'm very much of the thing that as much as it was a very horrible experience and being left, especially at that time, I had to deal with like the breakup of my marriage as well as, trying to find accommodation for myself and my children. I really do feel I was blessed to have a roof over my head still and to have certain things, as I said to you, that some people who have gone through that wouldn't have been able to have,
I recall you that like having to move into the hostel. It wasn't nice. That's what I'm saying to you about how what sort of effect did that have on you mentally, emotionally, financially, again,
everything, I'd say. But it definitely affected all of those areas. I would say that it was probably the lowest point of my life. I'm not downplaying that. It definitely was the lowest point of my life. And as much as my marriage was nowhere near repairable at that point, I definitely feel like I was holding on still to some hope that maybe things could change. And, it was more so to the point where the other individual just wasn't willing to change. So it was over and I was on my own and I had the children to contend with. I met my husband at a very young age, so I didn't even really live on my own. So it was literally like the reality of your marriage breaking up, the reality of you being homeless, and then the reality that you are on your own for the first time in like 30 years was very scary. Very scary.
Really went from Paleo Now,
Paleo
Now ending, marriage breakdown, going into teaching again, and then from teaching we went to
homelessness,
and then from there, where did we go to? Was it straight onto She's on a Budget?
So after I was made homeless, I did try to hold on to my teaching job. It was very hard. I mean, everyone in my department knew what was going on. They were very, very, very supportive of me and were trying to do their best. I mean, as much as like a school can to help me in my situation. But it did get to the point where, as I said to you, I did fall into quite a deep depression and I wasn't able to teach. I just wasn't any use to anyone. And I left my teaching job. very soon after that. I was basically like living from day to day, guys. I have to say, I wasn't able to plan very far in the future because obviously I didn't know where I was going to live, like, you know, within the next few months. It was very, very depressing, a very, very sad time for me. I just felt like giving up, to be honest. It was a really, really bad time.
I just went back in my head a little bit. That's when you went back into your faith, didn't you?
Yeah. No, definitely. That is when I would say that, you know, at my lowest point, I did, you know, go back to my faith. I was raised as a Christian in a Seventh-day Adventist family. So I had those roots, I'd say, already. So for me, going back to my faith was not, I'd say, a far cry, how I was raised. But yeah, it was a time where I did go back to church. I just felt really low. It was at my lowest point and I didn't really know what to do or how to get out of it, to be honest. And if it had not been for me going back to church, like, I mean, I suppose people have their own opinions on religion and faith and stuff like that. But whatever floats your boat, guys, as far as I'm concerned, for me, it was God to help me get out of that situation. It might be for you something else, but everyone needs something. Everyone needs a purpose. Everyone needs something to believe in order to help them to get through and navigate through life. You know, I'd felt at that point as well that I had literally tried everything. I'd not tried everything, but I felt like at that point I'd literally failed at everything. I don't have a relationship with my father, so I felt like all of my experiences with men up until that point hadn't really gone too well. I didn't really trust my judgment on how to be as a person, like as a daughter, as a wife, as a, you know, a sister, a mother. You know, I didn't really understand what I was meant to do. I didn't know who I was either. So there was a lot of soul searching. There was a lot of like questions that needed to be answered. You know, I did have some therapy during that time as well, which I would say again gave me a bit of perspective and, you know, helped me to understand where I was at that point in my life. But yeah, it was definitely, I'd say, my religion and my faith that helped me get out of that situation.
Okay, we're going to come back to some more questions about your personal life, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go to She's on a Budget. How did you start She's on a Budget?
I literally reignited my relationship with God, and I was trying to be a dutiful Christian and follow what I believed I was being guided to follow, which was basically contributing and paying my tithe. That was one of the things anyway that I felt that as a Christian I should be doing. It's one of the questions as well that a lot of people see when I'm writing my budget. They're like, oh, what is tithe, or what is it? And it's basically a portion of your income that you return to your church. There is a lot of stigma about tithe because there are certain people, I won't say certain faiths, but there are certain people within faiths that have abused that power in the past. Some people think, oh, why are you giving your money to a church or what have you? And for me, what I learned at that time was it wasn't about who I was giving it to per se. It was more about teaching me the art of being grateful for the money that I had received. So the demonstration that I was doing by returning a tithe was more important to me than actually where it was ending up, you know. I'm not saying that you should give money irresponsibly, but at the same time, if there wasn't a clear reason why I shouldn't be giving it to a certain institution, certain church, certain person, then, you know, the act of actually giving was more important for me to learn at that time than anything else. And then once I looked into, you know, tithe giving, I fell upon Dave Ramsey, who was really the person who, as I said to you, helped me to understand the true reason and true nature in giving and returning a tithe to your church. And I then learned about budgeting and what money was about and how to manage your money and the cash envelope system. Those are all things that I learned through literally just returning my tithe, which is, as I said to you, like, it's quite funny when you think about it, because had I not gotten into my faith, had I not found God again, then I wouldn't have even started She's on a Budget. Like, literally, that all started because the whole reason why I'm alive is because of God. But I'm just saying that specific thing in itself, that specific ignition, should I say, came from me wanting to learn about returning a tithe. It wasn't from anything else at all. So hands down, reason why hands down the reason why She's on a Budget even started was because of my faith. So yeah, definitely.
Do you think that's what gave you then the confidence to start it, or do you think it was anything also to do with Dave Ramsey that gave you the confidence as such to start?
I would say it wasn't really about confidence. I would say it was more so out of choice. Like, I had no choice. Definitely an element of desperation because, you know, I didn't even know how much money I owed. As I said, guys, I was very depressed when I was in the hostel. I didn't do anything. I didn't pay a bill. I was barely looking after my children. So it wasn't a very good time at all. Within the 18 months that I was homeless, I didn't pay a bill. I didn't pay anything. I didn't open a letter. There was a lot of money that was stacking up behind me. And once I got on my feet again, once I, you know, found accommodation and we'd moved out of the hostel, I had to, you know, make amends with that money. I had to literally like face that debt. And once I did, gosh, it was scary because at that time, I'd racked up over like £12,000 worth of debt by that point. So I had no choice. I really had no choice.
Okay. Just quickly, could you just tell us, I don't know if there are people obviously watching the podcast who don't know what She's on a Budget does or is.
Okay, yeah,
so
yeah.
Could you just quickly give us that and then we'll go into
Yeah. She's on a Budget is basically just me. I'm on a budget and I wanted to show what that looks like from someone who has no financial experience, no money experience either. You know, I was starting from scratch, guys, and I was someone who was towards the end of their 30s. So I wasn't a young chick or anything like that. I had children, you know, a divorced person. When I looked into budgeting, there weren't many people like myself. And more so, I just wanted to document my journey into becoming financially free. So I started a YouTube channel and I started a Etsy shop, although I didn't have one item listed at that time. But I did start an Etsy shop because I thought maybe I could use it later on as like a side hustle. But the YouTube channel was just basically me showing how I'm writing my budget, how I'm managing my money. That was the whole point. But it was more so like an accountability buddy for myself because I'm one of these people that if I tell people I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So me starting the YouTube channel was a way for me to be like, okay, cool. People, well, not that anyone was watching, but you know, people will be watching this theme. You need to make sure you stick with it. I'm laughing, guys, because literally my daughter and my mum were the only people who watched my YouTube channel when it first started. And I'd only have one comment every week, which was from my daughter. And she'd be like, good one, mummy. Did my daughter watch the video? No. She literally just watched the first 30 seconds. So it counted as a view. I love the support, Nevaeh. I love the support. And then, you know, she'd leave a comment. So, you know, it was just the fact that I knew that it was going out there into the world that enabled me to stay accountable.
Okay, so apart from you documenting your journey to being debt free, what do you actually do in the shop?
Now,
what did you do? What do you sell things? Do you make things?
Okay.
Tell us what you do.
Okay, so going from the start, which was obviously the YouTube channel and the shop, after about, I say 5 months, I did realise I had to start listing stuff in order to get some sales in. I had to list more things. I think I initially started actually with one listing. It was for cash envelopes, but then I started to realise and learn that you need to have maybe at least 100 items on Etsy before people even start seeing your stuff. So I got to work in starting to design things and list things, and I invested a bit of money that I received during the COVID period to the business in order for me to do that. So I invested, it was only like about £500. And like, if guys, if you want to know, like, you know, we could always do another podcast about that. But I literally invested like £500 in the business, and then I got to work in listing more items. Those items obviously went from, as I said, one cash envelope to now we have over like 400 items, I think, that I have in my shop. And should I say shops now? But we'll get onto that. Yeah, we have over 400 items.
What do the things that you sell as such in there, and apart from giving advice to people, only based on your own experiences, obviously, what do you sell to, or what do you do in that shop to help people?
So
with their financial journeys.
I sell cash envelopes. I've got a planner that I sell, a budget planner. I've got a wide array of things, but I'd say they all come under the umbrella of budgeting items, so things to help people stick to their budget.
Okay, and start their maybe journeys
and start their journey into becoming debt free. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
They're all things that I used myself. I've always been of the narrative that I'm only going to show you and share with you things that I'm doing or trying myself. I'm never going to give you or sell something that I wouldn't use or would never use. And that's that's the reason why there are certain items that you would never ever see in my shop, guys. But yeah, I would never ever put something in the shop that I wouldn't use. I kind of like try to show that in my videos, tried and tested items that have helped me save money, you know, spend money wisely, all of the above.
You've got a lot of YouTube videos and things, isn't it? Where you show
literally documented the whole thing from the beginning. So I have got, I don't know, maybe 300 videos now on YouTube. Quite a lot. It's been 3 years, guys. It's been 3 years. So yeah, we've got a lot of videos.
What's the most recent thing you've started? Is it TikTok? So you've got Insta, you've got, it's everywhere, isn't it? She's on the budget at the moment.
Yeah, so
in your face.
In terms of platforms, I know what you mean. Bless Ellie, I love her so much. But in terms of platforms, we've got YouTube, we've got Etsy, as I said, we've got Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I was on Instagram, I think, you know, from the beginning as well. It was a way for me to find other like-minded people, to find out exactly what this budgeting thing was all about. I'm on Twitter, although I never tweet. I'm on, where else am I on? Facebook. And we have a budgeting group on Facebook,
You're on,
guys.
Alistair Stewart's GM. You've done a few little
I have done,
to make people understand.
Yeah.
You know,
I have been on a few news channels. Yeah, TikTok, I suppose, is the most recent out of the platforms that I currently am on.
Yeah, I mean, I asked you that so that sort of people can sort of research and see exactly what you do.
Yeah,
you do.
Definitely.
I mean, even me, if I don't know certain things, I'm just going to go on all these just to see exactly what it is you do.
Yeah. I get you.
Let's go to She's on a Budget. Tell us a typical day in the shop. Come on.
Oh Lord. A typical day or a period of time. I'm joking. I feel like days just roll into weeks roll into months. But yeah, a typical day will be me getting up. If it's a good day, I may have time to go for a run before I start work. If it's not, then
what's happened to those runs? I'm just joking.
Well, I haven't run for 2 weeks, mate. But yeah, I would say that if it's a good day, I'll get up and go for a run, which is something that I've recently introduced into my routine. But yeah, if it's not a good day, as in no time, I will get up and just start work straight away, really. And
does that consist of making things?
That consists of making things. I manufacture and make like most of my items. They're all handmade, and I will, answer emails. Most of the day I'm making something, though. I'm not sitting there doing anything. I did try to do like some kind of like content creation days, because I do make a lot of TikToks and advertise a lot of products via TikTok, YouTube and stuff. So there are filming days, content days that I have, but I just try and roll them in. Yeah, I just try and roll them in.
Too busy otherwise.
Yeah, at the moment, I can't really give a designated day for those things. To be honest, I would like to get to that point where I have got like a content day and then this, but the way things are at the moment, it is just like kind of grab and go as you can. So
Okay. How and where do the ideas come from when you're making new products for the shop? Do you look at other budgeters to see what's trending, or do you just look at what may be missing from your products?
Definitely just look at myself. Now, I don't know why Ellie asked me this question, but yeah, it's really hard, guys. I think initially, this is no hate to anyone out there, but initially when I first started my channel, there were very few people doing what I was doing. Not saying there was no one, but there were very few people doing what I was planning or intending to do. I got inspiration from a lot of American creators. Actually, scratch that. There were very few people in the UK doing what I was doing. I didn't see any myself, but I'm not going to say there was zero. So there were very few people doing what I was hoping to do, i.e. documenting my budgeting journey and my cash stuffing journey. So I got a lot of my inspiration from American YouTubers, Ramina Rosa being one of them. And there's never been a time, I'd suppose, where I've, sat there and copy verbatim what someone else has done, but I've definitely put my own spin on things as well. As of recent times, I feel like I have really stopped watching other people, to the point where I mainly get most of my inspiration from customers. So I have unfollowed people, I block people, on my end, should I say. So I'll mute stories and everything like that, and mute people's channels. You may think it sounds a bit harsh, but it's the way for me to carry on being as authentic as I can, so that I don't feel like I'm treading on anyone's toes, but also so I feel like I'm doing things for the right reasons. Like my motives are always clean. But yeah, most of the time it's because customers have actually requested me or asked me to make stuff,
Which then
gives me an idea to move on to something else. Exactly. So most of the time it's due to requests that you see new items. And I'd say literally 99% of the time, that is the reason why. I barely look at what everybody's doing or what's trending. I do what makes sense to me. I'm very much someone who doesn't do gimmicks. So you won't see me doing like a Christmas thing or a Easter thing. Not that I celebrate those things anyway, but I don't do things that will last a very short duration of time because I don't feel like it's value for money for the customer. And yeah, like that's
you don't want it to be just a trend.
I don't want it to be a trendy thing at all.
Long-term.
I want it to be long term for sure. That's something that just aligns with me. I feel like I'm robbing someone if I'm just giving them something that's going to last them 2 weeks or 10 weeks. It has to be something that is going to be long term. Maybe it sounds like bad business, but to the point where they don't necessarily need to come back to the shop. They come back because maybe they want to rather than they need to, you know?
And I think budgeting is a long-term thing, isn't it?
It's definitely definitely a long-term thing,
makes
you know?
sense what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you're going to want to answer this question, but I'm going to ask it
Go
anyway.
on.
Since starting She's on a Budget, have you seen other budgeters in the community copying yours or other budgeters' products in any way?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll answer it. Definitely, I have seen people copying things. I've seen people get inspiration from other people. Definitely seen people rip off other people's ideas. I just feel though, because it is such a small community, there aren't like millions of people cash stuffing. Personally, I think it's just really hard to bring out an item that nobody has ever seen before. You know, as God said, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything has been copied. Everything has been replicated. Yeah, I can see how it is disheartening. I've heard other people beef about this. You know, that people have ripped off their stuff and blah, blah, blah. For me, it's bound to happen, you know, and, you know, it's just part of the cause. I suppose we don't sit there and hear the drama between Apple and Samsung, but they probably do have the same drama. They probably see things that have been stolen, you know, but they have laws and stuff that protect them. Whereas, you know, as a small business, you don't really have that luxury. So, yeah.
I think you said that before. It's also because it's such a small community in the UK, isn't it? It's not that big, so there's not that many people doing it.
No.
And what's your biggest fear and why? Now, that's whether personally, professionally, or it would be nice for you to answer both, really. So professionally and then personally.
I'd say personally, my biggest fear will be failing to do what I intended to do or intend to do. And that's always been to help other people. When I was doing, you know, when I started my budgeting journey, there wasn't anyone that looked like me and was in exactly the same situation as me. And obviously that's not always the case anyway, but it is, I think it is very helpful to have someone who is in a very similar situation to you, especially when it comes to personal finances, in order for you to have that support and have that kind of like, I don't know, guide in how to navigate your way through it. So I didn't have that when I started, and I wanted to always be that for other people. So I suppose professionally, failing that will be like the worst thing that could happen for me. And then in terms of my personal life, I think the worst thing for me in terms of my personal life will be getting back in the situation that I was in before. So, you know, financially back in that situation where, you know, my living situation or, you know, my children's safety was jeopardised like that.
Yeah. Okay. Understand that. If you had to go back and start She's on a Budget again, what would you do differently and why?
Oh, that's interesting. Do you know what? That's actually quite a good question. I feel like if I was to start She's on a Budget again, there isn't much I would change.
Okay.
I think I would probably keep it more or less the same, because I feel like with every learning curve, it's actually served me a purpose. It's actually helped me. There isn't one thing that I'd say, even bad things that have happened, I wouldn't even say, oh, I wish it never happened, because it helped me to go to somewhere else, you know. I feel that's what running a business is all about, you know. You start off one place and then you end up somewhere else, and as long as it's, you know, not at the detriment of the business, it's a good thing.
So there's nothing that you could have started to do differently to make maybe it easier?
What would you say?
I don't know. I don't know.
No,
because I've not really, you know, experienced it, so I don't know. So I'm thinking, is there anything?
The way you're saying it is like, you know, there is.
Oh,
something.
No.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
No.
Sorry, guys. We're very new at this, but yeah. In all honesty, I haven't got any regrets with this business. I haven't got any regrets. I haven't. You know, as I said to you, like everything that I'd say was negative that's happened has enabled me to start something even better. So I wouldn't say there is anything that I'd want to change, you know.
I thought there was, you know. That's probably why I asked the question, because I thought you might have said there was something you would have, if I was going to do it whatever, I'd do it this way or whatever. No, okay. Fair enough. It might be something else we were talking about.
Maybe.
Okay. What's your biggest regret in life and why?
Oh my gosh. I think I've really touched it. I think the biggest regret was stopping paleo now. Again, though, even with that regret, like I've said to you many times before, like, so guys, as I said to you, there was a point where I could have carried on teaching, or I could have carried on with my business. And to be honest, as I said to you, in hindsight, I know that that wasn't possible. Like, I wasn't even in the mental state to teach. So how was I going to run a business towards the end of my marriage? But I definitely think that because it was such a love loss for me, it made me regret it. And I've always kind of like wanted to get back to that point where I was with that. And, you know, I think it would have done very, very well. But I think that if I had, you know, stayed in that situation, then nothing would have changed. I probably would still be married, not gonna lie, or maybe even worse. So I don't harp on it too much. I'd say that was one of my regrets.
What do you mean that you still could have been in a toxic relationship
situation? Yeah, just because I was, you know, I had to depend on him to some degree during that time, even though, you know, he wasn't really forthcoming. I did depend on him quite a lot to, you know, get the kids and stuff like that, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. But obviously children grow up, so yeah, that could have changed too.
Yeah. Right, as we know, right, social media can make or break a business. Yeah. Can you recall a specific time you may have felt judged by people at any point in your debt-free journey? Now, that's since being on social media.
Okay.
And how do you deal with the negative feedback as well later? Okay. How do you deal with it?
Yeah. I suppose the only negative I have seen, as I've been very lucky to some degree, I think. I would say the only negative I've really seen is maybe the type of purchases that I make with money. And some people haven't really been happy that I've bought certain things or used my money in a certain way, which is really weird in itself when you think about it, guys. But yeah, that's the only kind of critique I've probably had. I definitely think that people have to understand as well that personal finances are personal, and just because it's not necessarily something you would do doesn't mean that you have the right or, you know, the authority to tell someone what's bad and what's good. I've always made a point as well, especially when I'm helping someone with their budget or writing a budget, I've never ever judged them. I do look at situations sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, and think, oh my gosh, that's like crazy, or I wouldn't necessarily do it that way. But I never sit there and make that person feel like they are judged in how they spend their money, how they earn their money. I've never ever done that. And I feel like in the world of social media, if you are sharing your finances, you're gonna have to expect that not everybody's going to want to agree with how you do things. Yeah.
Sorry, I agree. I was going to quickly
go on.
Put in there that, do you think that's because the word budget or budgeter is people have this perception that you haven't got any money or you're never going to make money?
Definitely, yeah.
So is that why?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think that is definitely one of my goals and aims as well, to kind of like rewrite the stigma behind the word budget. Budget doesn't mean cheap, doesn't mean dressing like a nomad, it doesn't mean dressing like a crazy person. Like, budgeting literally just means that you are staying within a certain limit for your spending, or for
your limit.
Your limit, yes. Yeah. You're being the operative word. You're being the operative word, because I feel like people sit there and they go, well, I wouldn't do that enough. That's your business, baby, because at the end of the day, that is what you would do, and you have to be really like comfortable with that. More so for the fact that, you know, budgeting is not a temporary fix. It's not going to be, you know, something you do for Christmas or January or whatever. It's something that you're going to be hopefully doing for the rest of your life. So the more that you become comfortable with that and what that looks like, the more likely you are to stay on that journey. Like, if you make it look like the worst thing ever, like budget in prison, as I say, no one ain't gonna want to stay there. No one's gonna want to go there, you know. So you have to make it realistic towards your own goals, whatever they may be.
Does that make you feel judged in your own journey then sometimes?
Sometimes, but I mean, to be honest, it's water off a duck's back, because I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, guys. Like, seriously, I know it sounds horrible, but ain't no one on the internet gonna be telling me how to spend my money.
Yeah.
Like,
because you've earned it.
I've earned it. So yeah, as long as I ain't stealing your knickers, we're good.
It's funny that, because when you look at someone's journey, don't you, from the beginning to the end, but still people like to
keep you at a certain point. I definitely agree with that. I think that people have, you know, as much as I love it, I love that there have been people who are still watching me now who maybe watched me in the beginning. I think you need to allow me to grow, guys. You need to allow me to like grow as an individual and make mistakes and learn from them. If you think I'm making a mistake or whatever, you know, I really do think that trying to keep someone in a certain position is quite limiting for them and you as an individual.
I think growth should be an inspiration.
Growth
to people,
should be an inspiration. It shouldn't be...
That's how we all
exactly
want to grow, isn't it?
Exactly.
You look at somebody, I'd like to, you aspire to something.
That, rather than you staying in the same place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. Has there ever been a profound moment since starting the business that you've wanted to throw in the towel, so to speak, you know? And if there was, when and why?
Okay. So when I wanted to throw in the towel, I think there have been times sporadically throughout the time that I've been running the shop, the channel, what have you, that I've wanted to throw in the towel. I think it's always when I feel like stressed, and I'd also say when I feel like maybe the relevancy of what I'm trying to do is not being...
It doesn't come across how it should
exactly. So, as I always say, I've always wanted to help people. I've always wanted to educate people with the experience, the little experience that I have in money. So, I suppose when I feel like what I'm trying to do isn't really being received well, it kind of like puts me off. It really does put me off. I've always said, you know, cash stuffing for me is always the cherry on the top. It isn't necessarily something that everybody can do right now or straight away whenever they start, if they were to start a budgeting journey. I think it's definitely one of the things that you can do once you've managed your money to a certain point, you know. But I think that unfortunately it's the one, I don't know, it's probably the thing that people know me more for, cash stuffing, rather than the educational standpoint of budgeting, which is something I'm trying to reverse. But I know it's something that is very hard. I don't know, maybe it's just me, I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's something that isn't as well received as the cash stuffing side.
But hasn't been an actual particular moment that you can think in your head, well, do you know what?
Loads.
In that, okay.
Yeah, loads. I'd say loads.
Okay. I thought there might have been one, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
What does Theme enjoy doing outside of work, and do you get time to do it?
No. I was going to say, what? Do what?
What do you enjoy doing? What is there something that you really enjoy doing that you...
Guys, I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting there thinking, mate, at the moment I'm a workaholic. Let's just be real. Let's just be real. I'm a workaholic.
What do you like doing?
I do like to travel.
There must be something.
I do like to travel.
Yeah.
I do like to learn
You've got
about
a taste
different
of that
cultures.
more.
Yeah,
so
I have.
haven't
So
you
recently, I have, and it's something that I do want to continue to do. So yeah, I do like to travel. Not necessarily like in European countries, because I feel like the culture is very similar to where where I am, because it's the same continent. But I do like to travel to other continents, or different continents, should I say? Because I feel like you learn more and you get a bit more of an insight to how the world really operates. So I definitely want to do that more as as and when I can, really. But other than like day-to-day hobbies, I don't really have much, guys. I'm serious. I'm literally a worker.
You don't, do you? You don't really have anything. No. I don't even know anything that I could say. I mean, forget back in the day when we were training, because they were issues, I would call them, wouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely. We went through the fitness issues.
Really badly. For quite a few years.
But yeah, I would say that I'm definitely all invested into my business and my children.
You are a workaholic.
I am a workaholic.
So now that I've asked that question, I've actually answered, I should have known. But I'm just trying to think if there was anything deep inside of you that you actually enjoy or you would love to do, apart from the travelling, I suppose.
Yeah.
There isn't, innit?
Not really, no.
Okay, boring. I'm just joking. You've had a couple of bad relationships in the past, and unfortunately we said a failed marriage. At the same time you had the failed business, Paleo Now. How would a relationship fit into your work life if the right man was to come along?
Girl, you know the answer to this.
They don't.
You know the answer to this.
They don't.
Oh my gosh, I don't even...
I actually read this before we spoke about it.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, so it's in there.
Okay, it won't.
So you discourage it then?
It won't. It won't happen.
What I'm saying is, I suppose, if you go back to when you had Paleo Now and you were married... did one take priority over the other? I know
any growing business will monopolise your life. Anyone who started a business knows that it consumes you. There is no out. There is no gaps. There is just the business.
So you're saying you wouldn't be able to fit in a relationship, even if you wanted to, into
what I'm doing now.
She's on a budget.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And I wouldn't want to. So.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just asking the question. It wasn't a thing. I'm just trying to give them an insight.
Okay.
Okay, this one I don't even know if you will or not answer this one.
Okay.
Do you feel your colour impacts your business, and if so, how and why?
Good question.
Oh, good.
That's a good question. Yes.
Because we speak about this quite a bit, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And, you know, I feel like people, when they hear someone talk about their colour, everyone's quick to be like, oh, she's pulling the race card, blah, 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 blah. And it's something that you probably won't ever hear me talk about again, to be honest, guys, because I don't want that to be a thing that I even, like a seed that I even let navigate my way through running a business.
Which you haven't anyway.
I haven't, but I think once you talk about things or you speak on things too much, you know, you make your own roadblock, I suppose. But yeah, I definitely think that being a person of colour, being a black woman, living in the UK, I definitely think that has had an impact on my business. Some people will probably think, well, no, it hasn't, because you're doing really good. But, you know, I definitely think that there are, I wouldn't say that I've had any real major, like, viral moments. I think that this has been a progression over, you know, nearly 4 years of where I am. And due to my sheer persistence and hard work, have I got to where I am. I wouldn't say there's been any leg ups, and I suppose this probably comes under anyone who has faced or is maybe like a marginalised group. You know, you will find that within any group, you know, whether you're disabled, you know, whether you're a woman, whether you're...
Do you feel you have to work harder?
I definitely think I do.
Yeah.
I definitely think I do. But I think that's something that most individuals or most people of colour, most black women know that is a given. You do have to work harder, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're done.
Good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you so much, my dear,
for having me.
Interviewing me. But yeah, guys, that is all for now. Do hope you've enjoyed this episode of She's on a Budget. Do stay tuned, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.